This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's gonna be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for All-Star Season 9, Episode 1, titled Drag Queen Save the World. My name is Joe Batanz, and I am joined, as always, by one judicious co-host from Pod Is My Co-Pilot. Please say hello, hello, hello to Mr. Taylor, the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Taylor.
Excellent. So glad to hear it.
This is the second time we had to do that. I didn't hear Taylor the first time. I'm like, hello? What's going on, Taylor? What's going on? And he was like, I'm here. I'm like, oh. So that was, also, Taylor, you're usually a lot more like, that was very like, hello, this is Taylor the Latte Boy.
Well, just because then I got thinking about it. The first time I said it, I was very natural. But then I was very like, oh God, is he going to be able to hear me? So that was my version of show Batanz.
If you like that kind of sparkling banter, you're going to want to go over to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia and join at the executive tier and above to get Just Between Us Girls. You know, the other option is you can go on Apple. If you're an Apple podcast right now, just go to the show page and there's like a subscribe, and for like $6 a month, you get Just Between Us Girls. And I will say, you know, people don't know this. The service we use for regular Just Between Us Girls, I can't change the cover, but on Apple Podcasts I can. So you get the swanky Just Between Us Girls cover as well. And then you can feel superior to Patreon. But you know, I got to tell you, on this episode, I try on little boy chonies. Mm-hmm. So if you want to hear me try on little boy chonies, go over to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, like I said, and join the executive tier and above. You know, Taylor, people may be thinking like, wow, it's weird. Joe usually plays like some sort of clip from the show.
Mm-hmm. I thought that too.
Yeah. And here's the deal. I swear to God, this is truth. I was, what happens is I listen to the show waiting for something I think is worth putting there. Couldn't find a single goddamn thing to put in here. I couldn't put a single, I'm like, there's nothing. I have nothing. Maybe there's something I missed. And you should know too, it's just a little bit of announcement. For episode 2, because I don't want people to get scared. For episode 2, Taylor's not going to be here because they dropped 2
I've already quit.
Yeah, Taylor already quit. So instead of Rulaska Thoughts, Robert and I are going to cover episode 2. Uh-huh. And so, but whenever they do this, I don't watch episode 2 until after I've recorded the recap for episode 1. So I have no idea what happens in episode 2. Have you watched it, Taylor?
I did. And as it was finished, I thought I probably shouldn't have done that because I'm afraid I'm going to mix things up.
Yeah.
I will say this. It's a really good episode. It's a really good episode if you like. Do you know what it is? Do you know what the theme is?
Episode.
It's a ball episode. So as far as there were some amazing looks in it. There were some shit looks too, but it was a good episode. I always like the ball challenges. So,
which is funny. How are they having shit looks? Because the rumor is that for this season, because it's for charity, the queens got a $50,000 flat payment plus a $25,000 clothing allowance.
Right, and they the looks that they brought from home for the most part, incredible. They had to make a look, and some of those looks are not great. But
interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway, I will be very ignorant. I did say the reason I will say this. Often in my preparation for the episode, I will do my notes. I'll do everything. Then once everything I've done is done, then I'll glance at Reddit and see if there's any like stray things I may have missed. Like, oh, I didn't know Roxy Andrews slipped and fell. Like, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't this time because they combined the episode 1 and 2 discussion posts. So immediately I was already seeing things about episode 2. I'm like, okay, I can't look at this.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to episode 2. I just know it's a ball challenge based on the preview. But anyway, let's get into it, Taylor. This week, 8 former contestants entered the workroom one more time to compete for a spot in the Drag Race Hall of Fame. In this episode, the girls paid a visit to the library and performed in a politically themed number. On the runway, the girls pitched their signature fragrance, and in the end, Georges and Angeria Perez Van Michaels were named the top 2 All-Stars of the week. After lip sync for their legacies, Angeria won some money for her charity and used her power to cut Roxy Andrews from winning a badge next week. Taylor the Latte Boy, did the right queen win the lip sync, and did the right queen get the cut?
Yes, the right queen won the lip sync. I love that version of that song. It is on my workout playlist, and it's just one of those that it's a fun, light, joyful song. And I thought the way that Angeria lip synced it was it felt like natural. It felt very much of the where you felt like she was actually singing it versus Georges. Georges is one of those that I feel like, you're a dancer. We know you're a dancer. Impress me with something else, and she had incredible moves, but she wasn't feeling the soul of the song like I feel like Angeria was. As far as the right person who got chopped, yeah, I think that was the obvious choice. I think as far as just because Roxy is the legend right now. She is, of everybody that's in there, she is probably the most well-known of all of the girls. So it makes sense that you're going to hit, when you go to prison, you hit the biggest guy first to show everybody that you're a badass. This might have been the equivalent of Angeria hitting Roxy.
It makes sense what you're saying because, Taylor, people always ask me if you and I have ever met. And I go, yeah, actually, we strangely have met, but only before you did Drag Race. I don't think we've ever met since you started doing Drag Race Week.
No.
And when Taylor met me, he punched me right in the face.
And I do it again.
Actually, the realty is Taylor was very mean to me the first time he met me because he used to hate the way I treated my co-host, Mike Lawson.
I don't remember being mean to you. I really don't remember being mean to you. I'm not saying that I wasn't. I just, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, our friendship began, our friendship began in that hotel room in Vegas. Like that to me, when we did the roast, when we did Boo Hecker's roast,
but that was the second time I met you. Yeah,
that was the second time. But you and I went up to your room to kind of talk about jokes and stuff, and then you and I got in. No, that's what happened.
What he means is I took my pants down. He saw my penis and he laughed.
Yes, and so that was the biggest joke of all.
That was the biggest joke of all. Right, the smallest joke, but yeah.
You and I sat and just kikied for like a couple hours, and then it was like, okay, I found my new friend.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. But the first time, because I remember I remember the first, now this is not you. I realize this is not you. But the first time I went to Pride 48, this is what the little convention was that we went to. I don't know, what an expo that we went to for gay podcasts.
Right.
And I was in a group with Lawson and a couple other people, but one of them was your co-host, Taffy Carlisle Huffington. And I said something smarmy or sarcastic to Lawson, and she bit my head off in the group. And I think that was when I was like, what the fuck happened there? And Mike was like, oh, Taylor and Taffy think you're really mean to me, and they don't like you. And I was like, ew. Whatever.
And see what happened years later. I get brought into this show at least once a year to talk with you of all things Drag Race. I keep wanting Taylor
to come out here, and he won't. He refuses. He gets cancer. He makes up all these excuses, and
I created a virus, a global pandemic, so that I couldn't come out.
Yeah, it's awful. Anyway, listen, I'm going to tell you something. On the second rewatch, I'm not disagreeing that the right queen won the lip sync. What I'm saying though is, I noticed that there were a lot of. They didn't show Georges a lot. They were focused mostly on Angeria. You saw only the bare minimum of Georges to know she was there. And I was like, what were they trying to hide? Now, I'm going to get you really upset right now. I'm sorry. I've never heard this song in my life.
No, it's not a well-known. It's from her. It's from her last album. The original version is it's the first song on the album, and it actually was written by Alicia Keys.
Oh,
for
really?
Whitney Houston, yeah. And the original version is a great song too. But this particular version, I love this version.
I've never heard this song, and so I was like, it was not a song I was familiar with, so I don't know that I have the feel correctly. Mm-hmm. But I was like, they're not showing Georges, and I'm wondering what they're trying to like hide.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about the fact that the editors definitely push you to feel certain things, so they want you to feel that Angeria clearly won that, fair and square. And we don't, we'll never know. It's very similar to for the All-Stars All-Winner season that people talk about the fact that in that last lip sync, Monet, if they're going by the lip sync alone, Monet should have won that. But because they had it in their head that Jinx was going to be the winner, they really focused, there was she had all sorts of props and things that she did that they never showed on her side of the stage. So this could be the same thing. I have another question. Other than, I was trying to think about it. Oh, you know what? I answered my own question. Never mind. Well, I was going to say, when was the last time we had a Whitney Houston song? But we did just have a Whitney Houston song like 2 episodes ago or a couple episodes ago when they did I Want to Dance with Somebody. With
episodes ago? What are you talking about?
On season 16 with Morphine and Tsunami. Because I was thinking, I'm like, it's been since like the finale of 9, I thought, since we had a Whitney Houston song.
I have no memory of that song or that season. Also, I know Morphine.
Yeah.
I had to like legitimately really run through my Rolodex to remember who Tsunami was.
So if I can say one thing though, to something you said on it. So I just listened to all of season 16, you and Nathan, and while I was painting my back bathroom, and I will say, oh, that's what the story that I was supposed to tell you. I remember what the story was.
Wait, hold on, everybody. They need to know what we're talking about. And I'm going to write this shit down for next week. Okay.
I need to write it down so that I don't forget.
I have a notepad ready here anyway, all the time. But when we did Just Between Us Girls, I wasn't going to originally try on Little Boy Chonies. That was an improvised mode. Actually, Taylor came up with that. Taylor said, I really want to see you in Little Boy Chonies. And I was like, all right, well. But it was like, well, Taylor, you have this story. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So what is the story for next? So this is a preview for if you want to hear this story, two things. If you want to hear this story, go to patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia and join at the executive tier and above. Also, now I can officially say you should go back because now we're fully back from hiatus. You can do a 7-day free trial at Patreon for the executive tier and exclusive tier. If you want to like just hear this story, you can do that. But go ahead.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you the full story, but I'm just going to tell you something that will be a trigger for me that I will remember the story. And the line I want you to say is, I stand with Lori.
I stand with Lori. You'll remember this.
I'm going to write it down in my notebook so that I don't forget it too.
Okay.
But that is where I am Team Lori on something that has happened since I was on last year.
Okay. Team Lori.
Okay.
I don't want you to remember it now.
So what I was going to tell you was, listening to it, you were 100% right that when they started playing on one of the lip syncs, Janet Jackson's Control, I did scream.
Yeah. I heard you. I wasn't even like, I was just reporting what I heard. All right. Well, you know what? Before we get into the actual episode, why don't we do this? And this is a perfect place to do this. Why don't we take a break? And when we come back, we are going to talk about the actual episode. We'll be back right after this.
What does Colgate mean by live life to the brightest? Could it be a rich glass of red sipped inside a Parisian cafe on a snowy night when my gaze is met by a tall, mysterious... brushing is directed with Colgate Optic White Pro Series toothpaste gives you a visibly whiter smile in just 3 days, so you can live life to the brightest and finish that glass without worrying about teeth stains. Colgate Optic White. Find it at all major retailers.
This episode is supported by FX's Clipped, the scandalous story of the 2014 Clippers owner's racist remarks captured on tape and heard around the world. The series charts the tape's impact on a dysfunctional basketball organization striving to win against their reputation as the most cursed team in the league. Starring Lawrence Fishburne, Jackie Weaver, Cleopatra Coleman, and Ed O'Neill. FX's Clipped, streaming June 4th, only on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
And we are back. First things first, 8 former contestants enter the workroom one more time. Now, we've covered most of this on Meet the Queens because it's what we saw on the episode was an extended version of what they showed us on the Meet the Queens. More of them talking in the workroom and stuff like that. So just to get since it's mostly covered on Meet the Queens, were there any notes or anything that you had from watching this the second time, or any new things you saw?
I think that having watched this and kind of an overarching of the entire episode, but particularly this group, I know that when we talked about who was going to be on the season, it was very okay, that's a weird cast, but there is something about it, and they talk about this on Tucked, that it is a good group of them. Like, actually seeing them all together sort of made sense a little bit more. Mm-hmm. For the most part. There are a couple of them that I'm sort of like, I don't understand why they're there, but we'll get to that later. But I think that all of them seem to be in it for the charities and seem to be wanting to support each other. And that is nice to see. My concern is by episodes 4, 5, and 6, if everybody stays at this nice level, that it is going to start to get boring really fast. Like, I kind of want to see the queens disagreeing a little bit more.
You know, you're reminding me right now, what I was going to say is, I never finished my thing that the right queen get the cut and is related to this, is that I haven't seen episode 2. Mm-hmm. But everything I saw online was that like episode 2 is much better than episode 1.
Yes, I would agree with that.
And it's, you know, they don't know what the next challenge is going to be. So I think it was really smart of Angeria, just by luck, to cut Roxy based on what I know. And don't say anything because I'll watch it today. But I wanted to say that. Like, I didn't say it. Going with what you said, I also watched Untucked, and it's so funny. I was like, ugh, this is the best. Like, I don't know. Maybe I have to watch more. But I was like, this is so B team for the most part. For the most part. Roxy was B team on All Stars 2. And now she's the contender on this season. And I think it's an Untucked, or is it the main episode where I think it's Untucked, where she says like, I'm looking around the room and you guys are stars. And I'm like, bitch, you were on All Stars 2. Arguably forget the quality of the television season. Mm-hmm. God, maybe the All Winners, well, obviously the All Winner season, like the strongest group of contenders that you could have is All Stars 2, apart from the television quality.
Yeah, I think particularly with All Stars 2, the majority of them, you had no idea who was going to win that. Whereas I think that the difference between that and All Stars, All Winners, was of that group, there was 3 or 4 that you thought, okay, they're definitely. Whereas this, I think that this is you describing this as All Stars B team is a good way to see it. But B team is still pretty good.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of them that I think could like work their way up to A. But if I go into this thinking that it is going to be the B team, that actually makes it more comforting to me to watch it.
Well, remind me to get into this when we get into the workroom stuff, because this is actually more of a workroom conversation. But there's clearly like a a delineation between the veterans and the new queens, the baby queens. And I'll even say old and young queens, right? And it made me think, God, I would really see a season just of old queens. We see a lot of seasons of just young queens, but I would love to see one of just Chanel and Roxy and, you know, even like Pork Chop or like people who've been around, Jasmine Masters, you know, like.
I think that there should be I personally would love to see a rule, which they're never going to do this, but of where you have to wait 3 or 4 years before you're allowed to be on an, like they don't pull you into an All-Stars. They don't ask you to be on an All-Stars until it's been at least 3 or 4 years, because it feels like we just saw some of these girls on their regular season. And I want to see the big growth. Now you sometimes get like Chanel, who looks exactly the same as she did 15 years ago, but you also get, you know, with, you know, even I would say to some degree, Vanjie feels like there's been some slight growth there as far as definitely her look and how she's put together. Whereas I feel like Angeria has some great looks, but it kind of looks the way that it looked when she was on her season.
Yes. Well, I haven't seen episode 2. Maybe you're coming with that knowledge, but yes.
No, but I mean, even on the first episode, it's sort of the same from season 14. Is that where they were? 14?
Angeria is from season 14.
Yeah.
So the only one little note that I had, actually, this should have been in Meet the Queen because it was in the original batch, is Gottmik in her confessional. She's like, "I'm back, you know, for charity," and she rolls her eyes. I'm like, that was like a weird moment that they put in that she's clearly like, "Ugh, I'm here for charity," and I was like, that's a bizarre kind of thing she said there. That was the only thing I had there. Any other notes on the workroom entrances?
No.
All right. Next, for this week's mini challenge, so RuPaul comes in, she welcomes them, and then she makes the announcement. Oh, no, that's later. So for this week's mini challenge, the library is open and the girls take turns reading each other. Any big thoughts about the reading challenge, Taylor?
2. The one thought about the joke about being paid in empanadas. I forgot who said it.
It was Gottmik to Roxy Andrews.
That to me felt like a low blow to me. Whereas compared to when Nina made a joke about Roxy's weight and Roxy made a joke about Nina's, I kind of feel like if you're a big girl, you can make fun of the other big girls. Unless you are someone who being a big girl is part of your shtick. But to me, it felt mean.
I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go deeper into what you're thinking.
Okay.
And if you don't want to comment on this, I'm fine. But I'll comment. And by the way, if anybody has a problem with what I'm going to say, thebestoftoday@gmail.com is our official complaint line.
Yes. Okay? Yes.
I think what you're really feeling is not just, you're right. If like, look, I can call Lori Roggenkamp a big, fat, dirty, gross pig, right? A, because I have eyes, but B,
you're so mean.
But B, she can call me the same thing right back, right?
Right.
So there's that element, right? But I think what you are, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, or you're afraid. I think there's a different element too, is that it seems much more unfair because Gottmik has this shield of you can't say anything about my most obvious weakness, you know, because you'll get canceled, you know, not that it's a weakness to be trans, but I'm sure I haven't thought of any, but I'm sure there are a lot of trans jokes we could make that they probably would really make in the dressing room.
Yeah.
But they can't make on TV. So she's hiding behind, she's lobbing these mean bombs, but it's almost like this field, like, you know, like they have their bodyguard, you know, behind them and like then hide behind their bodyguard. Because does anybody even read Gottmik in this? Well, it's funny that you said, do you have another note, Taylor? I actually pulled the reading challenge.
Okay, I have one other note, and this actually, you had said, did you have anything about the workroom entrances? And I said no, because I was saving it for this.
Yeah.
I hope we do not have a season of Vanjie talking directly into the camera at the cameraman.
You're right. Breaking the fourth wall. Yeah.
I noticed that started last season with a couple of the girls, and I'm hoping that there isn't a turn to where that's considered to be okay behavior.
I feel Vangie's is doing it. I don't know where she's seen it, but yes, it's been a growing trend. I think this is my speculation. There might, and this is something like Robert or somebody might know, but I'm sure for the recent people, there's like an person who did this. But I think a lot of these people are fans of the show. And there is a moment, from season 6, if you remember, where Adore does look at the camera during Untucked. Like, can you believe this shit kind of thing? And it is funny. But it's like a one-time thing that happened, 18 years, I don't know how many, 12 years ago or something, or 10 years ago, actually.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of these queens are fans of the show. And so they've seen that and now they've tried to recreate it. I don't know who the first one was, but yeah, it's been a recent trend lately of breaking the fourth wall.
Adore has done it. Your favorite Brooklyn Heights did it once in an Untucked.
Fucking bitch, let me tell you.
And I remember like Gigi Good did it one time where she sort of looked directly into the camera when they were saying stuff. But yeah, I can see that being where people think like, oh, well, as particularly the Adore one was definitely a moment, and even the Gigi Good one in particular was a moment. So I think that this is people wanting to have.
I feel a mandatory meeting did it multiple times, and she was on the show like 3 episodes.
Right, she did it, but these girls wouldn't have seen that yet.
No, they wouldn't. They came in right after they filmed. Yeah,
right. So I just wonder if this is I'll definitely get I'll get a meme out of this because I think that there is that where people want to be meme worthy.
Yeah, I think Vangie's very like work that puss or there's always time for a cocktail kind of thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's play this reading challenge. And I'm glad you did it because I actually cut it out of the it's at the very, very end. It's Roxy reads her. And I cut it. I'm like, why do I need to hear this? Right. So it will not be in this. All right, here we go.
Oh, Janelle, it's been such a long time since your season. And
does she think her name's Janelle? I heard Janelle.
She does kind of sound like it says Janelle.
I'm going to go back. I'm sorry. I think she says Janelle.
Oh, Janelle, it's been such a long time since your season. And you look it.
Did she just Did she just call her Jew?
No.
And Jew, look at Jew. Especially in these times, Taylor.
Don't be starting rumors.
Am I though? All right, here we go. And now she's gonna go over to Gottmik. All right, I think, right?
It comes to having talent, you ain't got much.
What is that?
I think that's a good joke.
Oh yeah, if it got Mick and it comes to you ain't got much. That is a good joke. That is a good joke. And that's a real RuPaul laugh.
Yeah.
Angeria,
This is Gottmik.
never met anyone whose parents are more related than their teeth.
Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, Angeria has bad teeth. All right.
Yeah.
I don't get the joke.
I think that the parents are like cousins or siblings or something, and they're closer in relation to Angeria's teeth, which are farther apart.
Yeah, I think she fucked the joke up. I think because, yeah.
Wow. That was good. Guys, I heard there's a club in Florida that pays the girls only in empanadas. Don't believe me? Look at Roxy.
It's not even just it's a fat joke. It's just not a good joke. It's also very like hyper racially specific.
Yeah, I was just thinking that didn't occur to me until I just heard like there is a racial undertone to that's not very.
Yeah, well, there is this sort of like I'm gonna get on my fucking Latino high horse. There is this sort of like, especially in Drag Race world, where I'll just say this: I feel that they can make jokes at Latinos' expense that I think would be offensive for other cultures. I will not give other examples. But I don't think, I was about to give an example. No, but I don't think that if you think about the other people that they were there, I don't think they would make a similar joke to them about their culture. Like she wouldn't say, I keep wanting to make a joke, but I'm not going to.
Don't say it. Don't do it.
I'm not going to say it, but I think we could all think about it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No one's telling Plastique that she needs to eat more banh mi's, you know?
Cream of some young guy.
Yeah, but yeah. Because she's Vietnamese, right? I believe she's Vietnamese.
Yeah, she's Vietnamese. And I just said something that was supposed to be like Chinese food, so I guess I'm the racist this year.
Once again, the best of today gmail.com.
That was cute.
It wasn't. There is some sort of weird note they got that they have to like react a lot to these dumb jokes, because a lot of them are like, it's not that good.
Well, but she also didn't. Roxy in that one didn't seem to. I mean, she laughed, but it didn't seem like a genuine laugh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And Vanjie, the only bitch I've ever met that can outdrink me, girl. Your liver is so black and shriveled. It's 15 face tapes away from hosting RuPaul's Drag Race.
Not a bad joke. I just can't believe she made it.
Not a bad joke, but the delivery, it took a while to get there.
Took too long to get there, and you didn't need the 15 face tapes and all that. That's the first time now that it's just the audio, it's the first time I understood what she said. So she kind of swallowed those words. So, yeah.
What does that mean?
Thank you.
Vanjie not getting what the joke means.
Georges.
This one is Plastique Tiara. Okay.
My sister. Yes. I smell weed and poppers all the way from the parking lot.
Ooh, you ain't wrong, bitch.
Okay, so this isn't a good joke, right?
No.
It's first of all, Georges herself talks about her love for weed and poppers.
Uh-huh.
And I feel if you're doing a reading joke, a joke where you're reading people and the person's able to agree with you happily, I don't know if it's a good read.
Yeah.
You know? It's like saying, oh, Laganja Stranja, you like to smoke weed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my fucking name. You know? So.
Yeah.
And the way they're just hooping and hollering, like it's the funniest. Yeah.
Nigeria. U-G-L-Y. You ain't got no storyline, you ugly bitch.
Okay, this is not good on a couple of levels. One, got kind of going with the empanada thing. It's like, Plastique thrives on how beautiful she is. For her to call someone ugly is mean.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, that's her line.
Yeah.
That would be like Lori Roggenkamp is here, everybody. Ho ho ho, Green Giant. I would be like, yeah, well, that's Lori's tagline.
Uh-huh.
That's what she says all the time. Like, why are you? It's not funny. You know?
But also, Plastique wasn't known for her comedic talent.
But then she brags about it in her confessional, but you'll see it right now.
You see? I have personality.
No, you don't.
No. Because I remember her season, the only thing that she really brought, and what she was trying to be funny, was she brought the Vietnamese accent out. When she wasn't getting laughs, she would just start talking with a thick Vietnamese accent, and then that, which she did the first time, everybody thought it was funny, and then the second time, nobody laughed.
Plastique Tiara.
This is Nina West.
You know, some people call you dumb.
The problem with that joke is it's just old as dirt.
It's old as dirt, and it's also where she turns to RuPaul and says, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been better if she said, Plastique Tiara, people call you dumb. Roxy Andrews, and just kept it going.
Yeah.
So that was my, me the, expert on comedy of Afterthought Media.
You know what makes you laugh.
That's it. Roxy Andrews, I can never remember when you spell your name, is it with 2 X's or 3 X's? Wait, hold on, I remember. Just look at the tag in your shirt. 3.
That's a good joke.
That is a good joke. And I feel like one big girl to another big girl, there's a level of respect there where that can be said versus...
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Right. There we go. I'll remember that for next time.
Angeria!
Go easy!
This is Chanel.
I do remember a couple of years ago, I actually took a pill to get rid of my Angeria.
It's not a horrible joke, but it needed a tag. And I don't know what the tag is, but it needed something because it's just kind of just hanging there by itself.
Right.
And got Mick over here. I didn't expect to see you here. I just figured that you would cancel on this booking like all of your other ones.
The way they react makes me think there's a germ of truth to that. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's also something that the average viewer wouldn't necessarily know about.
Yeah.
Plastic tiara.
This is George's.
My TikTok queen. You should try the new TikTok challenge and learn how to tuck properly.
Okay, not a good joke, but it was something I clocked where I was like, this Plastique has a really meaty tuck.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, like there's like a bolt, there's like a visible, and I don't clock this shit.
Yeah.
I don't clock this shit, and I clocked it.
I mean, then they start showing close-ups of it, so then you can't help but notice she's got a beady tuck. But that's not something I normally look for in my queens.
I don't either, and that's why like I don't usually when they mention it about other people, and then I'm like, oh, they do. But then this one, I was like, it's something I had already clocked.
But I feel like this joke would have been funnier. That was sort of a word salad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, rather than spending your time on TikTok, maybe you should spend some time on TikTok and take care of that meat between your legs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of looking at that pamper bitch. Nina West, I see you've been on a lot of red carpets lately. I guess they've let anybody become stars now.
Here's the problem: is Nina West gets her right back.
You waiting?
So that's like you have to be careful that they can't, boomerang that read right back at you.
Georges, I didn't know you was gonna be here.
Oh.
This is obviously Vanjie.
They said it was all stars.
Not a bad read.
Do not
Yo, Nina West. Oh boy, what do I say about you? Chanel.
That's just a cop out. She really legitimately did not have a joke for her.
Right.
Y'all can cut when Ru was laughing at the other ones, add that into mine. They ain't gonna have enough.
So this is clearly like, Ru's, Vanjie's constantly breaking the fourth wall. That's sort of her thing. Because even though she doesn't break the fourth wall and look in the camera, she's directly addressing the producers or the editors and stuff.
Now let's read, bitch.
Okay, Roxy Andrews, last one.
God, Mick, I'm so proud of your transition. Everyone, round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
From a fan favorite to Violet Chachki's assistant.
Good joke.
Good joke.
Moving on to Nina West, the shoulders of Columbus, Ohio. Nina is also a former Miss Congeniality.
Yeah.
But with a face like that, you have to be nice.
Wow. Get into it.
Yeah. And Vanjie, Miss Vanjie! I didn't really know you were going to be here today, but judging by your outfit, you didn't either.
I mean, decent jokes, but it's one of these things where it's like, well, yeah, she's actually been around people who are actually very funny, So like,
yeah, those are old jokes though, right?
They're
Wouldn't
very
those be like
jokes,
old Rose jokes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised she's been around so long. She actually did like those whenever they used to do those roasts, the drag roasts on tour. Did you think Roxy was the winner there?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the Roxy was the best of all of them. I would almost say Nina was a pretty close second for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who else I would have put in there.
But I think you're right. I think Roxy's the winner. All right. In the end, Roxy Andrews was named the winner of the challenge. Next, RuPaul announced this week's Maxi-challenge. The girls must write and perform this season's theme song, Drag Queens Save the World. In the workroom, the queens unpack. The queens speculate who the threats are. Roxy and Plastique relish their friendship, and a friendly competition between the older contestants and younger contestants comes to the surface. Later, the girls write their lyrics and discuss the ongoing war on drag that's happening in the red states of the U.S. On the main stage, the girls assemble to choreograph their number. Georges is elected choreographer, but seems to struggle in the role. Later, Chanel falls off the stage. Let's take this in little pieces. Let's talk first. I forgot to mention this earlier. I thought it happened here, but it happened earlier. When RuPaul announces that what the new rules are for All Stars, they're all like, So I'm like, girls, this was like negotiated before you guys even came on. This was like a whole sticking point. Yeah.
I thought the whole thing with that, where they were all very surprised, and I was like, no, because they all got stipends for clothes.
Yeah,
so they had to know.
And supposedly they were having trouble booking All-Stars because a lot of the queens they want to come on, spend all that money on clothes, and then be eliminated after one episode. They're like, no, I don't need it,
Yeah.
So that's why they're doing this new version. Any other thoughts? So any thoughts here on the Maxi-challenge? And they announced it, usually not, but what about the workroom? Let's go to this workroom when they're in there. They're actually working on the lyrics and whatnot. Do you have any thoughts on the workroom?
My hope is that we see the conversation about the red states, and particularly they talk specifically about the state that I live in, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And much like if we watch an episode now from 2012 or something like that, where they're talking about issues that don't really, I don't want to say don't affect us anymore, but it's like, oh God, yeah, I totally forgot about that. Like at some point we will move past this, which I get that's the whole theme of the song and the political aspect of it, but it's upsetting. It's definitely upsetting just as a queer person living in Florida. It's scary to live here, as well as many other states in the United States. And I'm glad that it was addressed. It was addressed early on in the season, and it allowed for some great dialogue between the girls.
So let's talk about the workroom. So there's a conversation early on where the different queens are, like, especially the younger queens, are gagged that they're in the same room as these icons like Chanel and Roxy Andrews. Mm-hmm. And I was so funny. So it's meant to be, I think, like cute. Like, oh my God, these girls are like drag race stars themselves, but they're gagged at the drag race stars in the room, people that they grew up watching. And it made me think, and it was like I said, we were going to have this conversation right now. I actually was kind of embarrassed for Chanel and Roxy. Like, oh, they have to do this show, And like, that's why I said I would prefer a season where it's all these queens, where it's all these like early drag race icons. I think I'd prefer that than them being with the young queens and sound like, oh, you're like these like relics from the past, which by the way, they're younger than me and you. So, yeah, but I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
No, I definitely, you're going to see a conversation in, I guess I haven't watched, in Untucked, there's a conversation of where they talk about how they are just, I can't believe I'm in the room with you and all of that sort of thing. And there is sort of this, I get what you're saying, that it feels very much of the, like, I get to touch a real dinosaur sort of thing that is a little like,
Well, especially when you're in your career and you see yourself as still relevant. Now, not that they're like saying that they're not relevant, but I think like if I was in a podcasting thing and it kind of happened at Spotify a little bit where they were like, I was the elder statesman of podcasting. I'm like, I still feel I'm learning. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so I think there's something where it feels like, oh, they're pushing me towards irrelevance. Not me, but they're pushing the older queens towards irrelevance.
You figure in the lexicon of Drag Race, when you think about older queens, like the early seasons 1 through 6, I mean, I would think Roxy Andrews would probably be in the top 10 of people you would talk about. Yeah. So in that regard, I get that. And I mean, Chanel is an amazing queen, and Chanel is that old school queen, but she keeps bringing up the fact that she does old school drag.
She does.
And I feel like she's almost pushing herself out because, the drag that Chanel does is what little Gaby Taylor used to go see back in Tampa back in the day. So I love that kind of stuff. And I mean, another example of that, particularly on her season, would be like Trinity. Trinity was kind of that old school drag, and we don't see that as much anymore. So it almost feels like, stop bringing up we can already tell you're old school drag. Stop bringing it up and like pointing it out to us. Show us something that is, I don't want to say relevant because that makes it sound like Chanel's not relevant anymore, but something that kind of like wows us, because something that allows us the ability to kind of see how well, even though you come from this old school drag style, that you're able to work your way in with the younger girls.
Yeah. I want to talk about probably a topic you'll have a lot to say about. What's up with Roxy's confessional look?
It's distracting. I think the main thing that is she clearly got veneers. and they are brand new because those things are like shocking white. And this is the thing that I don't like about All Stars. And when they show, not only, I like when they have elevated their drag look, but then you're seeing somebody that you expect to see a certain way and they get plastic surgery or they get something about them that is very different that is distracting from what they're saying. I mean, I don't know if Gottmik got like implants for a jawline.
Oh, there's something going on there. It's like,
where it is just like 90-degree angle and it's distracting from when she talks. And Roxy is another person that it's really kind of, it bothers me. Plus, I'm used to seeing Roxy with dark hair, and she's got this like crazy bleach blonde hair, and she has this tan, and it's a lot coming at you. Yeah. So it's distracting from when she's talking. You're not really paying attention to that. You're kind of looking at all of this stuff going on. It is also abundantly clear that they are pulling these confessional interviews from different parts of the season, like the different parts of the process. You can tell with hairstyles with a couple of them, and like Nina West's eyebrows like drastically change multiple times, where sometimes she has normal eyebrows and then other times she's got like divine, like sticking straight up. It's again, these things happen and then it's disturbing from the
Nina West has this thing where she looks like there's like a tiny little face on a giant thumb. And I've used the thumb comparison before, but unfortunately this is the best one here. It's like a picture of a thumb and then they've like projected her little face onto the thumb. Yeah. It's very, very strange. I don't know a lot of these are choices. We'll probably come back to this when we revisit the song. But I like that they have a very serious conversation about a very serious topic as they're writing lyrics for a stupid song that they're going to do stupid dances to and whatnot. And it's just so funny. And we will revisit this. Choreography session. They bring in and they're like, oh, Georges, you're the choreographer. And then Georges learns and they learn that she doesn't, even though she can dance well, she can't choreograph. And did you have any thoughts on this whole session?
She is really the only one that has dancing ability, not dancing abilities, but she's the one that obviously she's known for being a dancer. But talk about somebody who immediately realized she was in over her head. And it wasn't the usual fight to be the leader. It was just everybody coming at her with ideas all at once. And it was almost like you watched her brain overload. Yeah. Because at this point, nobody has really started to disagree or argue. And even like Vanjie, because they were saying probably Georges and Vanjie should be the ones. And Vanjie just kind of backed off to Georges in this moment. So this was something that I feel like was slightly different from what we normally see, especially this early on, where people are trying to get to be the front runners of the within their seasons early on, where they're trying to make their personality and their presence known. We already know all these girls' personalities, so there's no reason for there to be that fight.
Look, it's another one of those things as well, where it's like, who are you? I mean, I guess the vast majority of viewers don't know this, but as I've stated before, typically, and this has been discussed on all the other podcasts where they have former contestants, they do this day on like the cruise Friday, no matter what day it is. We'll say it's Friday. And then during the weekend, a real choreographer comes in, they choreograph it, and then they perform it like a Monday. So this is just like a show that they're doing, because no real choreography happened during this. It says we're going to film some stuff for the camera, you guys choreographing it, then during the weekend you guys will work it out. Maybe there isn't a choreographer, but maybe they work it out during the weekend.
No, in the credits it says choreographer Jamal Sims.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. So answers already done. Yeah, because
but this is the equivalent of when they have them record their song and none of the wires are plugged in. It's the same idea. Well, it's something for the show.
We didn't see them record this because that's probably another thing that they did either that day or on the weekend, and it's just
probably did it before.
Yeah, they might have done it before. You're right. Very good point. Because you didn't actually really see them writing it. They're just all sitting around talking about writing it. Yes. So because there is, and it would make sense to use a time like that because there is a week of like sequestration. I don't know what the noun version is. But But there's a week where they're sequestered, so maybe during that week they're like, okay, we're gonna do these little things with you. All right, it's runway day and the girls get ready for the main stage. Roxy insists on one more practice of the dance routine. Georges and Angeria discuss their strategy. Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, Roxy and Plastique have the same conversation. Later, the girls speculate who the winners of the challenge might be, and Nina West feigns offense that her name was never in contention. Did you have any thoughts on this runway day?
No, I think that it's very standard cookie cutter of the who are you going to vote for? Who would you vote for? Do we all have rules as far as who we're going to vote for the chop? You know, but I mean, ultimately they don't really know until they see the actual performances who they may actually be voting for. And I think that you figure something like this, it makes sense that no one would consider Nina a contender for the top spot. You know, in any of the musicals or the rusicals that I don't remember Nina necessarily wowing everybody.
She's a big giant person.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had no thoughts on this day.
Okay.
On the main stage, RuPaul performs one of her new dance numbers. For the Maxi-challenge, the girls perform their take on this season's theme song, Drag Queens Save the World. Before we get into the Drag Queen Save the World, did you have any thoughts on RuPaul's number?
Well, you calling it a dance routine is
very,
very kind. It's a walk and point kind of thing.
It is ridiculous.
That being said, I kind of like the song.
Oh, you do?
I know that I like the music to the song. I mean, the Hustle That Cat is just a dumb name for a song, but I will probably download that on like a workout list. The dancer with the beard could get it. He was the one that we were both very like, who is that kind of thing. So we were really kind of focused on him.
It's so funny. I was picking out who would like whom, right? So I knew you would be super into that guy. I know someone who would be into this other guy. I was like, and I was calling it to myself. There's no one there. Like, oh, this is going to be that person. Is going to be excited about that person. And like, yeah, I saw that from a mile away. I think when RuPaul does these numbers, it's very cringy. Because she's clearly not dancing, and then the way that the other judges just like Michelle goes, there were no crumbs left, you ate everything, or something like that, which is honestly what I often tell Lori when I go to lunch. So it's really weird. But I just imagine Lori in her car right now, just like smoke.
Right. Where there's actual like indentions in the steering wheel from where she's just crushing it. Speaking of, wait a second. I want to go to something though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember how they made on I Love Lucy, they purposely made Vivian Vance look like older
frumpy,
and frumpy? Michelle looked like 70 this episode. She had this crazy like old, like not fun 80s big hair, but like soap opera dynasty Crystal Carrington kind of. It was not. I normally really like when they do different things to her hair, and I love her hair in episode 2.
Okay,
but this one I was like, she looks really old here, which is not something I normally say.
She plays, and then sometimes she wants to be like Iris Apfel. Something like she'll be like her hair pulled back with the big giant glasses. Mm-hmm. So anyway, also, there's been a lot of memes about RuPaul's look, comparing her to Annie, comparing her to Ice Spice, like
yeah.
So those have been very, very funny. Okay, so let's get into because there's one part I'm going to play a little bit of the song. I want to point something out. But did you have any big thoughts on the Drag Queen Save the World song?
I thought that the song itself, they've done worse songs. Was it one of my favorites? No. But this was one that for the last day, we've been walking around going, Drag Queen Save the World. So it's stuck in our heads. So that's a sign, I guess, of a pretty good song. Also, the general gist, I didn't understand half of what the girls were saying. For a lot of them, they were like talking super fast. And
I watched it with captions because I was trying to make a point here. And Plastique's pretty much the only one. But anyway, to go back to what you said, the little I did see on Reddit, people were probably accurately pointing out how, I'm sure this is a Leland and Freddie number, really, really borrowed very heavily, to be kind, from Backstreet's Back.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Remember, people who don't know, you can look it on Spotify. It's Backstreet's Back. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to hear it right now. Luckily, the verse I want to get to is the second verse. So we'll have a setup verse, and the second verse. So my point is, and I was thinking about this when I was watching it for the second time, because when I watched it for the first time, I didn't really pay attention to the lyrics. I was looking at the outfits and the dancing and this and that. And then the second watch, I paid attention to what they were saying. And I was thinking about that, they're all talking about how serious this topic is, and then they're all going to go out there and say stupid shit. Now, I will say, for the most part, before we get into the song, I'm only going to play one verse, is for the most part, they all pretty much stayed on topic. There's one person who was absolutely ridiculous, and we're going to play that, and then we'll talk afterwards.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Face in the air, eyes forward, erupts. As a smell.
This is Gottmik, by the way, and for the most part, her lyrics are very much about the topic, which is, there's a war on drag right now and trans people, and we need to do something about it. Here we go.
Oh, girl, it's a new era. Wanna fight, wanna love, wanna show them. We're not going anywhere, bitch, we're frozen. Don't waste your breath trying to silence all stupid arguments trying to blame science. Let's stand up, fight back, bitch, we're tyrants. You mess with me and my girl, say hi to my bitch.
I made a mistake. It's actually the third lyric, but this second one is almost like a bridge. Nina West.
My stuff. This fight is for equality. We got a superpower, you and me.
By the way, I don't know when Nina West ends. Nina's going to go into Plastique. I want you guys to really listen to Plastique's first. Here we go. So, because Nina West is also staying on topic.
Yes.
Legendary. Stand up for what is right. One chosen family.
TIARA. This doll did not come to play. See me anyways with a huge empire. Face, heart, and hands, set the world on fire. Paving the way for new generation. Saving the day through transformation. Never ever say it's not worth the fight. With love besides, we'll make it right.
90% of the lyrics about herself and how hot she is.
Right. And I the second she did the T-I when on the show, I was like, oh, that's not good.
Which some people say, because there are a lot of people who are saying that she should have won this episode, or at least been in the top 2. And people are saying, well, her lyrics, they're talking about her tiny waist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The other ones, the only one that comes close, and this is actually going to what you and I said earlier, is Chanel spends not the whole lyric, but about half her lyric time talking about how she's a legend and she's been there a long time and she was the first one to walk in the workroom. And you're like, bitch, 1, it's not about you. 2, stop talking about that. You're just emphasizing it.
But that is Chanel's claim to fame. She is the first contestant ever to walk onto Drag Race. She has brought that up. She brought that up in All Stars 1.
Yeah.
She talked about that. And anytime she is interviewed, she talked about that in her, in Meet the Queens when she came in. But she also, if you watch the 25-minute thing on YouTube, because they show the first couple of minutes and then they show them all being interviewed, she brings it up then too. That is her thing, that she will, to her dying day, talk about the fact that she was the very first queen ever. Well, bitch, it hasn't gotten you a win.
Yeah.
You don't have a crown yet.
Yeah.
So relax.
Okay. That's all I have on this song. Do you have other songs or any other points about this?
Honestly, my favorite one was Nina's.
Okay.
I thought, because she stood out not only because she sang and you could understand everything she was saying. It was very clear and concise, but she stayed on brand and everything she talked about made sense. I like your thought of that. It almost sounded like a bridge between the other two girls. And maybe I wish they had done something like that. That maybe that could be a thing that they do in future seasons, of where if they're going to have groups of 3, that one of the girls has to do a bridge.
Well, if you remember, in Kitty Girl, Kennedy also sings. She's second, and she sings between the first and third verse.
No, she's the first. Isn't she first?
Is Kennedy? Okay, now I got to pull it.
It's Kennedy, then BB, then Trixie.
It is?
No. Oh, no. Maybe Shangela was first.
Yeah, I think it's Shangela, then Kitty, then Kennedy, then I think BB, then Trixie.
BB, then Trixie was the last one. Somebody is screaming at their radio right now.
Not
in
here.
their car.
Oh, in their car. That's just
in their car.
Oh, yeah, I know that right now. They memorized in there. They get so mad about this. All right, on the runway, the signature look, signature fragrance was the category. Did you have any big thoughts, any big misses, any big hits for you, Taylor? I know the runway is really important to you.
I liked the idea of it. That's almost something, well, they did do in season 5 where they all had to create commercials about it. So I liked the fact that they sort of condensed this. And some of the looks were absolutely incredible. And some of the little voiceovers were pretty funny too.
Yeah.
The thing that I don't get is why Ru was cackling through Chanel's, where Chanel wasn't necessarily saying anything funny, but you hear like Ru laughing through the whole thing.
What was Chanel's about? I don't remember.
Chanel's was Chanel #1.
Oh, really? Okay.
And she was just kind of talking about very Chanel of, it's luxury and, opulence. And RuPaul's laughing through the whole thing.
She's a crazy person. She's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Any specific looks? I loved plastic tiaras. Now, I was a sucker when Courtney acted in season 6. I was a sucker for that. I'm a big fan of the wings. I think it's very dramatic and I love it.
But Plastique's was amazing. I liked Angeria's. Voiceover. I thought was particularly good. Gottmix was very cool looking. I enjoyed seeing Gottmix, and I'm trying to go through the rest of the other ones.
Dawn has commented obliquely about copyright Margaret Mata. Has commented about Nina West's outfit, like shady, but isn't really clear about it. And then, and the people.
What was Nina's outfit?
It was like
I don't even
black
remember.
And white one. I think it was like having to do with.
It was the jail.
It was called "Criminal" by Nina West, and they're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she did that." The gumption and the gall, and I'm like, is there a story that here I don't know? That I know she sucked on people's toes. That's all I know about. I know she didn't go to jail. So I don't know what's going on there. All right, back on the main stage, RuPaul names Angeria and Georges as the top 2 queens of the week. This forces them to face off in a lip sync battle for their legacy. The song, $1 Million Bill by Whitney Houston. In the end, Angeria is named the winner of the lip sync and uses her power to cut Roxy Andrews from winning a badge next week. Taylor, the Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode?
No, I think that I've said everything. I said more than I expected to, honestly.
Oh, wow.
And it was a fine first episode. It didn't completely wow me, but it didn't where I went into it with reservations and thought like, oh, that was enjoyable. That was fun to watch.
Are there any code words that you want to say? Because you won't be here for episode 2. Are there any code words that you want to say about thoughts you have on episode 2? Or do you want to say that for next week? What do you want to do?
I will say there were a couple of looks on the winners that we were gobsmacked.
They were so good?
They were so good.
Oh, wow.
They were so good that mouth dropped kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the one in particular was really good. And it is a dumb lip sync song.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to watch it this afternoon. So
okay.
I'll find out. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 9. So for Taylor the Latte Boy and myself,
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can also email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. This podcast was produced by Sabrina Vadabancourt. Taylor the Latte Boy has another podcast. It's called Pod Is My Co-Pilot. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow Taylor on Instagram at PIMCTaylor. Follow Joe Batance on Instagram at Joe Batance. Special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters: Alex S., Anonymous, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Deckhead, Doofus Maximus, E. Smith, Emma, Bill Skip Pony, Flying Suki, Humble Pie, Isaac Martin, Jade Thomas Plank, Jesse Harris, Kathy Zender, Lauren Eckert, Lucy Cutteresco, Luke Stamen, Mike Yeager, Nikki Baker, Poppy Woods, Ricardo the Hood Edda, Robert NYC, Sarah Yu, Runner Brandon, Tom Bombs, Travi Cosmos, Troy Anderson, and Zach Nelson. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.